Alright, so we're going to start lesson 9.4, geometric sequences in series. Now remember last time we did arithmetic sequences in series. Now, for arithmetic, sequences, I had some common difference. We call it D. Say D equals 2, where I had a number I started with, say 5, and I just kept adding my common difference. So 5 plus 2 is 7, plus 2 is 9, plus 2 is 11. All right? So with arithmetic sequences, I had some number that I kept adding. Okay, so remember that. So arithmetic sequences. So in today's lesson, we're going to identify the geometric series. We're going to find the nth term and find the sum of the geometric series. So identifying geometric sequences. So let's give us a sequence. Say 12. Okay, so 3 different sequences. And I'm going to check to see if it's geometric or if it's arithmetic or just neither. Now we know that arithmetic is something that he's adding, a common difference. Well, geometric is something that's multiplied, or what we call a common ratio. Okay, or R equals. Okay, now this first example. Notice that I have 8, 12, 18, and 27. If I look at it first, I'm like, well, 8's not a multiple of 12, but what can I multiply 8 by to get to 12? Well, I notice that if I divide 8 by 2, I get 4, and 4 times 3 is 12. So if I multiply by 3 over 2, if I multiply 8 times 3 over 2, that equals 12. Well, let's see if 3 over 2 works to go from 12 to 18. 12 times 3 over 2. Well, 12 divided by 2 is 6. 6 times 3 equals 18. 18 times 3 over 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So that means this one is geometric, and the common ratio, or the R, is 3 over 2. Okay? If I check to see whether it was arithmetic, I'd say, well, the difference between 8 and 12 is 4. The difference between 12 and 18 is 6. And the difference between 27 and 18 is 9. So not arithmetic. Look at the next example. I have 8 and 16. Well, to go from 8 to 16, I just multiply by 2. So 8 times 2 is 16. Well, 16 times 2 does not equal 24. So that means this one is not geometric. But let's check and see if it's arithmetic. Well, to go from 8 to 16, I would add 8. To go to 16 to 24, I add 8. And 24 to 32, add 8. So it is arithmetic. And the D equals 8. Let's try the next one. We'll do arithmetic first. If it's arithmetic, well, From 6 to 10 is 4, 10 to 5, 15 is 5, 15 to 21, 6. So, not arithmetic. Okay. Well, to go from 6 to 10 or 10 to 15 or 15 to 21, well, I see if I divide 6 by 3, I get 2. So 6 times, if I divide by 3, I get 2. And 2 times 5 is 10. So if I multiply 6 times 5 over 3, I'll get 10. Well, I can multiply 10 times 5 and I'll get 50, but 50 is not divisible by 3, so that's not going to give me 15. So it's not geometric. So for this one, it would be neither. Geometric, this one, arithmetic, and of course, it's arithmetic, I have D equals, it's geometric, I have R equals, okay? Let's try a couple more of those. I have 1/4, 1/12, 6, okay, now if you want, you can pause the video real quick and try to see which one, try to solve these on your own real quick, and then push play to see what we get. So if you want to pause the video, fine. If not, I'm going to go ahead and work through these real quick. So, my first one. If I try to see whether it's arithmetic, I need a common difference. Well, to do a common difference, I would need to get a common denominator. Well, between 4 and 12, my common denominator would be 12. Between 12 and 36, common denominator would be 36. So let's look at 4 and 12 first. Well, this would just be 1/12 and 1/4. I need to multiply those by 3, so this would be 3/12. So to go from 3/12 to 1/12, that difference is negative 2/12. To go from these two, though, I'll make my common denominators 36. So 1/36, multiply by 3, 3/36, and then my common difference is negative 2/36. Well, negative 2/12 simplifies to negative 1/6, whereas this simplifies to negative 1/18, and those are not the same. So that means it's not arithmetic. Well, let's try geometric. Well, I see the tops are all 1. So that means to get to the next numerator, I just keep multiplying by 1s. So if I was trying to find an R, my R would have 1 on top. Well, to go from 4 to 12, from 4 to 12, 4 times what equals 12? Well, 4 times 3 equals 12. And then I have 12 times equals 36. Well, it should be the same number. It is 3. And then 36 times 3 should give me 108, and it does. So that means my common ratio is just R equals 1/3, which means this one is geometric. For this next one, I'm going to check to see first if it's arithmetic, because I see I'm going from 1.7 to 1.3. Well, that means I'm just subtracting 0.4. And to go from 1.3 to 0.9, I'm subtracting 0.4. Okay? And then I can say, well, it's geometric. And then geometric, my difference, R, and D equals negative 0.4. Okay. Oh, sorry. No. My common difference saying so it's arithmetic. So D equals negative 0.4. Sorry, you're probably all yelling at me into the video. I couldn't hear you. All right, so arithmetic, D equals negative 0.4. Okay? I could check to see if it was geometric and see, well, what can I multiply 1.7 by, say x equals 1.3, divide both sides by 1.7, and I'd get an R, and I'd try to multiply, say, 1.3 by that R, and it wouldn't give me the same value as 0.9. So that's why it's not geometric. Plus, all of these are either going to be one or the other. You're not going to get one that's both. So they're either going to be geometric or arithmetic. So since I found out that it was arithmetic, I automatically knew it was not geometric. So your three cases are geometric, arithmetic, or neither, not both. Well, to go from 50 to 32, I'm going to subtract, I'm going to add 18. To go from 32 to 18, I'm going to add 14. And from negative 18 to 8, negative 8, I'm going to add 10. So not arithmetic. So let's see here what can give us our geometric. Well, I can say 50, negative 50 times x equals negative 32. Divide both by negative 50. Okay? So I'll pull my calculator up. And I'll say, all right, negative 32 divided by negative 50 is 0.64. Okay? So that means negative 50 times 0.64 equals negative 32. Well, that means negative 32 times 0.64 should equal negative 18 if it's geometric. Let's see if that works. So I have 32 times 0.64 equals, well, I get 20.48, which is not a negative 18. So it's not geometric. So this one would be neither. Alright, at this point I want you to pause the video and then attempt numbers 2, 3, and 4. And after you attempt those, I'll give you the answers for each of those. So pause the video now and attempt those in your notes. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to attempt all of those. Let's see what we got. Number 2, you should have gotten that it was arithmetic, and that the d equals -2. For number 3, you should have gotten neither. And then lastly, for number 4, you should have gotten geometric. With r equals 1/4. Okay. Alright, so finding the nth term. Well, to do that, we're again going to need an equation. So we're going to have a sub n, and again, a sub n is just the nth term, equals a sub n minus 1 times r. Now, the fact that it has an a sub n minus 1 means previous term, which means this is a recursive formula we're using. So when we did arithmetic, we used an explicit formula. This was going to be a recursive formula. Okay. Now, that is a specific one if I'm using this one. I can also change this to say a sub n equals a sub 1 to the r n minus 1. So either one of those will work, but the difference is if I use the second one, I can use it as a little bit more like an explicit. I don't have to have the previous term. It doesn't really matter which term I use. Okay? So with the top one, I have to have the previous term. With the bottom one, I just, whatever term I need. In this case, I'm using the first term. And of course, I can change those numbers whichever one I want. So, our problem, we're going to say, find the ninth term, which is a sub 9. Okay? And we're given that the terms are -5, 10, -20, 40, -80. Okay? Well, my r is just going to be this term divided by the first term. So 10 divided by -5 equals -2. Or I could have done 20 divided by 10, -2. Again, 40 divided by -20. Okay, regardless. So my r equals -2. I keep multiplying by -2 to get to the next term. So now I'm going to plug into an equation. I'm going to plug into the bottom equation. So I have a sub n equals, well, I have a sub 1, all right? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not going to use a sub n because I'm specifically trying to find the ninth term. So we're going to use a sub 9 equals, and I'm going to use a sub 1 times r, which is -2, to the, well, n is 9 minus 1. Well, a sub 9, I don't know what that is yet, equals a sub 1 is negative 5. Negative 2 to the minus 1 is 8. So I have negative 2 to the 8th power. Well, 8's an even number, so I know negative 2 is going to come out to be positive. So let's think about this. 2 times 2 times. So I can multiply 2 times itself 8 times, or use my calculator, see if I have one here. All right. So 2 times. And I get 256. So a sub 9 equals negative 5 times positive 256. So now I have a negative times a positive, so I know my answer is going to come out to be negative 256 times 5, 1,280. Now, the other way I could have gone about this was to actually find each term. So, I know a sub 1 equals negative 5, a sub 2 equals 10, a sub 3 equals negative 20, a sub 4 equals 40, a sub 5 equals negative 80. Well, negative 80 times 2 is a sub 6, which would be 160. Multiply that times negative 2, right, a sub 7. So 160 times negative 2, which would be negative 320. A sub 8 is negative 320 times negative 2, which would be positive 640. And then a sub 9 equals 640 times negative 2, which would be negative 1,280. So either way, you get the same answer. One's just much quicker. All right, let's try that again. I have 3/4 negative 3/8, 3/16, negative 3/32, positive. Okay. So I see that I am getting positive and negative alternating, so I know that my R is a negative number. I see the top of my fraction isn't changing, so I know the top is a 1, because 1 multiplied by 3 each time is going to keep it 3. So a couple ways I can go about finding out exactly what R is, though. I can say, well, negative 3/8 divided by the term before it, which is 3/4. Okay, and of course when I divide by fractions, I flip and multiply, so negative 3/8 times 4/3. 3's cancel out, and I'm left with negative 4/8, which equals to negative 1/2. Or I can just think about the fact that the bottoms, I'll just keep multiplying by 2. So R is negative 1/2. All right. Well, we're trying to find a sub 9 equals, well, what? So I'm going to use my formula. So again, we have a sub n equals a sub 1 r to the n minus 1 Well, we're trying to find a sub 9. A sub 1 to the 9 minus 1. A sub 9 equals, well, I know a sub 1 is 3 over 4. R is negative 1/2 to the 8th. Okay? So, in my calculator, I can plug that in there, but I want to keep it in fraction form. So, that means, well, since 8's positive, I know I'm going to get a positive answer out. 1 to the 8th is just 1. 2 to the 8th, we just did. 2 to the 8th was 1, 2, 8, 0. Okay? So 2 to the 8th was 1280. So now we're going to multiply 3 times across. So 3 times 1 is 3. And then, pull my calculator back up. 4 times 1280 is 5,120. Oh, no, sorry. Made a mistake there. When we did 8 to the 1, 2 to the 8 we did earlier was not. If I do 2 to the 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I get 256. There we go. Now I'll multiply and get 3 over 4 times 256. 4, that's better. Okay, so a to the 9th is 3 over 1,024. Sorry about that. Alright, now see if you can find the 10th term of numbers 5, 6, and 7. Go ahead and pause the video and I'll give you the answers after you hit play. Alright, so hopefully you've gotten these solved by now. So for number 5, the answer is 39,366, and of course the R was 3. For number 6, you should have gotten 0 point, let me make sure I get this right. 1. Alright, so point. And there's 5 zeros and then the 5. And your R should have been either 1 over 10 or 0.1. And then for number 7, your answer was 64. And your R was just -2. Okay. And of course, if you have any questions or on these, there's something you don't understand, send me an email or an Edmodo message, or just post it on Edmodo and see if one of your other people in the class answered as well. But I'll be checking Edmodo and especially email. So if you send me a question, I'll try to get back to you and help you out with anything you still don't understand. Alright, so next we're still finding a given term, but instead of them giving us the first 5 terms, they're only going to give us 2 terms, okay? So we're trying to find the 10th term, which is a sub 10. And we are given that a sub 5 equals 96, and a sub 7 equals 384. So again, we're going to use our formula. So we have a sub n equals a sub 1 r to the n minus 1. But I don't have a sub 1, so I'm going to say, well, this is going to be a sub 7, and this is going to be a sub 5. So that's going to be to the r to the 7 minus 5. Okay? Well, a sub 7 is 384. A sub 5 is 96. 7 minus 5 is 2, so I have r squared. I'm trying to figure out what r is. First, I'm going to divide both sides by 96. Calculator. 384. Oops. Right, so we get r squared equals 4. And then we know to find r, you just do the square root of both sides. One thing that people make mistakes on, though, is my square root of r does equal 2, but remember it equals plus or minus 2. So don't forget that minus. That's what throws people off. So r is going to equal positive and negative 2. So when I plug in, I'm actually going to plug in twice. So we're trying to find the 10th term. So over here, let's say a sub n, a sub 1, r to the n minus 1. That's the formula, that's the basic formula I'm using. I'm going to use plug in a sub 10 equals, and I'll use a sub 5 to the positive 2, 10 minus 5. And then over to the side, I need to say, okay, a sub 10 equals a sub 5 to the negative 2 to 10 minus 5. All right. We don't know what a sub 10 is. We know a sub 5 is 96. And 10 minus 5 is 5. Same thing over here. So, find out what my 10th term is. I'm going to say, all right, well, 2 to the 5th power. Well, I know 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32. So, a sub 10 equals 96 times, well, that's positive 2, so odd, so that's positive 32. Over here, I'm going to get the same thing, except since it's an odd exponent, it's going to be negative 32. Now, if my exponent would have come out even, so let's say it was a 4 or a 6, then my negative would have gone away and I'd end up with the same number. Because I had an odd exponent, my two numbers are going to be different signs. So go back to my calculator. 96 times 32 is 3,072. So a sub 10 can equal 3,072, or a sub 10 could equal negative 3,072, depending on if r is negative 2 or if r is positive 2. Okay, so some of these you're going to get two different possible answers. We don't have enough information to determine whether r is positive or negative. We have two terms, so that's why we have two different answers there. Okay. We're going to try one more of these. We have we're trying to find the seventh term to sum, so a sub 7 equals, okay. And then we're given a sub 4 equals negative 8, and a sub 5 equals negative 40. Now, on this one, notice they gave me consecutive numbers. They gave me the fourth and the fifth term. So, instead of using my formula to find these, I'm going to say, oh, well, what do I multiply negative 8 by to get negative 40? Well, negative 8 times what equals negative 40? Well, just divide negative 40 by negative 8. So that goes to be 5. So x5, or my r, rather, is 5. Notice my r is positive 5 because my negatives cancel out. So we get r is positive 5. We're trying to find our seventh term. So again, a sub 7 equals, well, I need to use one of those. I'll use a sub 4. A sub 4. So 5 is my r to the 7 minus 4. So plugging in. Don't know what a sub 7 is. I know a sub 4 is negative 8 times, well, 7 minus 4 is 3. Well, 5 cubed. Well, 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5 is 125. So a sub 7 equals negative 8 times 125. And then 8 times, negative 8 times 125. Okay, it's 1,000, but since one's negative, one's positive, it's going to be a sub 7 equals negative 1,000. Alright, so I want you to go ahead and try to do numbers 8, 9, and 10, same way we just did. So do numbers 8, 9, and 10, and notice that number 8 has consecutive integers, a sub 4 and a sub 5, so you should be able to find the r really quick on this. So go ahead and hit pause on the video and try all those, and then go over the answers. Okay, so for number 8, well, to get from negative 12 to negative 4, you should have multiplied by 1/3, so your r would be 1/3. And then when you got to you were trying to find the sixth term, you should have got negative a sub 6, negative 4 over 3. For number 9, a sub 6 is 324. And for number 10, you're going to get two different ones. So that's again where we had your square root. You would have gotten either 24 or negative 24. Okay, so on the board it says a sum of a geometric series, but before we do sum of a geometric series, we're going to do one really quick, really easy thing. And you learned this in geometry. It's called geometric mean. Geometric mean. So again, you studied this in geometry, but we're going to go back over it real quick. If I have two different numbers, say I have numbers A and number B, and I want to find the geometric mean. Well, the geometric mean is just the square root of A times B, okay? So for instance, if I had the number 2 and the number 4, square root is 2 times 4. That's the square root of 1, 2, 2, 4 is 8. Well, I know I can simplify 8 as just 2 square root of 2. Okay? So that's how I find geometric mean. If I have, say, a fraction, so let's say I have 1/2 and 1 over 32. Well, square root of 1/2 times over 32 equals the square root of 1 over 64. Well, the square root of 1 is just 1. Square root of 64 is 8. Okay? So that's how I do geometric mean. So I just I do a square root of the two numbers multiplied together. That's how I find geometric mean. Alright, so go ahead and find the geometric mean. Alright, so go ahead and pause the video and find the geometric mean of 11, 12, and 13. Alright, so geometric mean, I just do the square root of the two numbers multiplied together. So for this one, I have 6 times 3 over 8. Well, 6 times 3 is 18, so I have the square root of 18 over 8. Well, I know that 2 goes into both of those, so I can say, well, that's the square root of 9 over 4. And then I can say, oh, well, 9, the square root of 9 is 3. The square root of 4 is 2. So my answer is 3 over 2. 2 times 32 is 64. And of course, the square root of 64 is 8. And then 12 times 192. Do a calculator for that one. Equals 2,304. And if I just try to do a square root of that, I get 48. So that equals 2,304, which is the square root of 48. Alright, so we have one last thing to cover, and that's the actual title for the slide, which is sum of a geometric series. We've done summation before, so now we're doing summation with geometric series. Alright, so just like last time, we're going to have a formula to do the sum of geometric series, and that formula is S of n equals a sub 1 1 minus r n over 1 minus r. Now, if you look at this formula in your book, you'll see that kind of off to the side, it says comma r not equal to 1. Now, that doesn't necessarily change how you work this problem. All that means is, well, if r is 1, then if I get 1 minus 1 in the bottom of a fraction, and I'm going to end up with divide by 2. So I cannot have an r equals to 1 for this. Okay. And it says, of course, a sub 1 is the first term and r is the common ratio. So, example. We're going to find s sub 7, and that means I'm adding the first 7th terms together for 3, trying to find s sub 7, and my terms are 3 minus 6 plus 12 minus 24 plus ... Okay, well, let's see here. I see that my sign keeps changing, which means that r equals a negative number from 3 to 6. Well, 6 divided by 3 is 2, 12 divided by 6 is 2, 24 divided by 12 is 2, so r is negative 2. So now I can plug into my formula. So we have s sub 7 equals, my first term is 3, 1 minus negative 2 to the 7th, all over 1 minus negative 2. I want to simplify this a little bit. S sub 7 equals 3. Well, negative 2 to an odd is going to be a negative. So negative 2 to the 7th. Let's see what that is. 2. 7. All right. Better calculator after that one. So 1, 2. Cool. So you have 128. Now, that's going to be a negative, but since I still have that minus out front, it's going to be 1 plus 128. And then 1 minus negative 2 is 1 plus 2. So I have s sub 7 equals 3 times 129 over 3. Well, notice in the bottom, the 3 and the 3 are going to just cancel each other out, and I'm left with 129. So s of 7 equals 129. Okay. Now sometimes they give it to me in that form, Other times they actually give it to me in summation notation form. So they'll say k equals 1, 5 of 1/3 to the k minus 1. Okay? Now again, this is not a difficult problem because I can look at this and see what all I have. Well, if I look at it, I see, well, a sub 1 is just 1/3 to the, well, 1 minus 1, which is 1/3 to the 0, which is 1. Anything to the 0 power is 1. So I have a sub 1 equals 1. Now my r is just going to be whatever number is right here. So in this case, 1/3. So r equals 1/3. And then I'm trying to find s sub this number, that number on top. So in this case, s sub 5. So now I can plug into my formula. So s sub 5 equals a sub 1, 1 minus r to the 5 over 1 minus r. So plus our plugging values, s sub 5 equals, well, a sub 1 is just 1, r is 1/3, so s sub 5 equals, well, 1 times anything is just 1, so 1 minus, well, 3 to the 5th power. I know 1 to the 5th power is just 1 over 3 to the 5th power. Let's break the calculator out again real quick. And we'll say 3 times. So 243 over 1 minus 1/3. Well, 1 minus 1/3, I can change 1 into just, what would I do right now? 1 minus 1/3. Okay. To add these numbers, I need common denominators. So s sub 5 equals, I can say, well, this is just 243 over 243 minus 1 over 243. And this will be 3 over 3 minus 1 over 3. 343 over 243 minus 1 over 243 is 242 over 243, all over, well, 3 minus 1 is 2 over 3. Okay, now that may look really weird, but all I have is a fraction over a fraction, or a complex fraction. So, I'm going to flip and multiply. So multiply this by 3 over 2. Multiply this by 3 over 2. These cancel out. Well, I have 2 on the bottom, so we'll say 242 times 3. That equals 726 over 243 times 2. 486. Now I could simplify this fraction some. It's not going to simplify completely, but I can simplify it some. Or I can just say, okay, 726 divided by 486. All right, and we'll round to a couple decimal places and say, all right, well, this is approximately 1.49. So you can give it to me as a fraction or rounded to a decimal. Alright, go ahead and pause the video and then try to do numbers 14 and 15 and then push play and I'll give you the answers for both. Alright, so for number 14 you should have seen that the R is, since it's just changing by decimal, is 1 over 10 or 0.1. And after you plug into the formula, you should get an answer that is 2 point and then 5 2s. 1, 2, 3. So 2.2222. Number 15, well, I see that the R is -3, just right there. All right, you know that it is asking for S sub 5. So when you plug into the formula, you should get the answer is 61. Okay, and that's it for 9.4. So your homework is page 659, and that's problems 19 through 35. Have a great weekend, and I will see you on Tuesday.